Hi, and welcome to the Kale Houser Leadership Secrets podcast. Today we're going to talk about obscurity. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Kale Houser Leadership Secrets podcast. My name is Kale Houser. Thank you so much for joining me today. Hey, I wanted to talk to you about obscurity today because it is a very common problem. It is common relationally, it is common in business, it is common in religion, in church, it is common in pretty much every aspect of your life. Because a major problem that we have is everyone else has the things we want in the form of, whether we need to go get a job or we need to get customers in order to give us income. We need to go meet other people in order to find a partner or a mate or, a spouse. All those types of things come from other people. And the reason we don't have them is because nobody knows who we are. Nobody knows how great and awesome you are as a potential partner or husband or wife to know that to be attracted to that. Nobody knows what you can bring to the table in the form of the business or service or product that you offer to know that, man, I want that thing, or man, that business can really help me. And it's called obscurity because that's what we all start in some form or fashion. Now, certainly there are instances where you can ride, for lack of a better term, the coattails of an established business, whether that be a family business, maybe your parents or grandparents, aunts and uncles, some sort of relation gives you that break and brings you up through that business. So by virtue of being associated with them and their already existing success and being known, you don't really have that obscurity problem. But for the most part, businesses, especially if you are starting a business, if you are developing something on your own, which is happening every day all across the planet, people start businesses. This concept of obscurity is a major, major thing. And this started, this started a lot when I was younger, and it really comes down to how you perceive your role in society and what you want out of society. I was not taught, my parents, and I know you're listening to this right now, but it was not just part of our culture in our family that we went out a lot. We grew up solid middle class. We didn't have a lot of money, so we didn't go out to eat a lot or anything of that nature. And that's the way it was. I'm not saying it was bad. That's just the way it was. We didn't go to a lot of events or things of that nature where we got out and known in our community, if that makes sense, right? We were not part of, chambers of commerce or, anything of that nature. And because of that, I lived a life that was very much under the radar, I guess, for lack of a better term. I never sought attention. In fact, quite the opposite. If I was perfectly happy if nobody knew my name in high school, and I would venture to argue that I was successful in that endeavor. That probably maybe 2 or 3 only other people in my entire high school class would even know who Kale Houser was, or that he even attended high school with them. It's just the way it was. That was my personality. That's how I was, not necessarily raised purposely by any stretch of the imagination, but that's just was kind of our culture of our family. That wasn't the type of people that we were as far as going out and getting ourselves known in our community or in our school or anything of that nature. So for that sense, we kind of stayed obscure, if you want to use that term. But as I've, gone through this process and it followed me into the military, absolutely. And there's a couple, young men that worked with me and for me that kind of knew that. I'll never forget this. This one time in this staff meeting, it was brought up that they were getting ready to essentially certify people. This is so stupid. They were essentially certifying people to be able to take the jet on their own, right? Even though you were a fully qualified pilot, all this stuff, you were trained, but you needed this special stamp that our commander was implementing to be able to kind of give you that authority to do all this stuff, which was, in my mind, kind of stupid. But it was a process that our commander at the time had implemented, and it had come up at one point like, and I was a major at the time. I was like one of the, I guess, probably 3rd or 4th in line. If our commander and DO were out, I was like one of the ones that would be in charge if they were on vacation or at a conference or something or sick. I would be, so I was like 3rd or 4th in line of our command. And it was brought up by one of the other younger guys who I, developed a relationship with as far as, we trusted each other, we deployed with each other and kind of knew each other and had that trust in each other as air crew. And he kind of made this comment of, well, what about Major Houser, right? He's like, he's the one up there, he's fairly high ranking in our squadron and he should have this authority. And one of the other, I don't remember if he was a sergeant at the time, but one of our other young, very responsible gentlemen, same thing, deployed together, flown together for lots of times. He kind of looks at the other one that has suggested and goes like, no. And it wasn't a no, Major Houser can't do it. It was a no, Major Houser doesn't want anything to do with that, if that makes sense. And it wasn't that I didn't want the responsibility. I wasn't trying to, skirt my responsibility to the squadron or anything. It was that it was just my way of flying under the radar because, one, it had a lot to do with the commander at the time because nothing good came from people that didn't fly on the radar, right? He was very much the whack you, at least that was my interpretation. He was very much the whack you if you kind of became known or stuck your head out too much, and I just didn't want to play his games. I was fairly over it at that point. But it's just kind of funny. I purposely did things to stay obscure. Like even when I went to these big meetings in the Air Force where there were colonels and like guys that were just about to be promoted to one-star generals, I had no desire to make myself known to them. I had no desire to go up and say, hey, I'm Major Houser, congratulations on your promotion. Versus some of the other officers were very good at that, and they understood the importance of, networking and getting your name out there and just being known. Not necessarily like, oh, look at me, how awesome I am. It was just like, hey, I'm Kale. I work over here at this squadron, and this is what we do. And if you ever need anything, let me know. I'm happy to help, right? I was just never good at that, and I basically stayed obscure throughout, I would argue, most of my military career. I tried to let my actions speak for me. I'm very much that type of person, that actions speak louder than words. But there is a point where actions are awesome and you have to do that and you have to be true to that. But you also need to, for lack of a better term, promote yourself. You don't need to do this in a sleazy way. You don't need to, be the one with the megaphone at the corner. But you do need to tell people, if you've got the best product in your market, tell people. If you've got the best service in your industry, tell people. If you've developed a new way to help people get what they want, it is your duty to tell them, to help them, to make sure that you are out there to where people can find you. So this problem of obscurity is not only will impact you, obviously, financially, if you are a business owner. No one will buy your stuff. No one will visit your store. No one will buy your programs or subscribe to your social media channels or listen to your YouTube channels, any of that nature, because you're not promoting yourself. And there are many ways to promote yourself, right? You can focus on just whatever your niche is, your target audience, your target clientele, whether it be locally or nationally. You can focus on, getting your name known in your community and networking in that way. There are literally thousands of networking groups, professional, social, and all the other ones that are designed just for this, to help you get out of obscurity. And I would argue if you are a business that has some sort of component that is locally based, whether you're an HVAC company that serves your community or a coaching program and you're trying to help people with their leadership or anything of that nature, go to some of these things. Start getting your name out. Start getting your name known. And more importantly, get used to just saying your name. Get used to just telling people about yourself. And understand that it's not arrogance. It's not this self-importance thing. It's just a matter of, hey, I feel I've got this great product. I feel I've got this great service I can offer you. My name's Kale Houser. This is what we do at Kale Houser Leadership. I would love to talk to you about it. And if that's not for them, that's awesome. You can still serve them, or they may know somebody, right? There's this whole component of the networking and referrals that we can get into later. But I think we kind of understand that concept. But I wanted to take this in the sense of, if you grew up similar to me, you were, I don't know that shy is the word. I wasn't necessarily shy. And I've told you this before, I'm very observant by nature, which I guess makes me less talkative because I prefer to let other people talk and just observe what happens with that. And certainly if you are actively shy, this is something that you need to work on. But start with just take that step, right? Find the local Chamber of Commerce lunch that they have probably once a month in your community. Join a BNI group. You can go, I think, twice for free and just check them out. And there's people that are actively wanting to talk to you and network with you, right? That's what the point of the group is. Toastmasters is a fantastic organization. If you're like, man, I need to get out there to where I can actually start talking in front of people, they will help you do that. And there are also hundreds of programs that you can pay for that will coach you through that whole process. But the point being is get out of obscurity, get out of your own way. Do things, whether it be on social media, start a podcast, start a YouTube channel, start posting on social media about your stuff, go live and just talk about whatever it is you're good at and start relating and finding your audience. Russell Brunson, who's the co-founder of ClickFunnels, multi-millionaire, could sell his company tomorrow and be a billionaire overnight if he wanted to. He makes this challenge to everyone of publish every day. Pick a medium, whether you write blogs, whether you do, videos, whether you do a podcast, whatever it is that puts your voice out to the marketplace, just the world at large. Publish every day for a year and see what happens to you. Do it as an experiment. Find your voice, find that thing to get you out of obscurity and talk about what's important to you. What do you think is important to your audience? Find your audience and let them find you. And that is my kind of number one tip from you. I think it is phenomenal advice. Russell Brunson is a pretty smart guy. I suggest you listen to him. If you haven't gotten into his world, absolutely look him up. But Grant Cardone says the same thing, promote, which is all about just getting out of obscurity, because that's arguably the number one issue with businesses, especially new businesses. Like, oh, nobody's buying my stuff. Well, nobody knows about your stuff, and we're not in an age to where, well, even now that if you set up that corner market bakery, how do people know that you're there, right? What are you doing to get your name out there? Are you taking your bakery to the local farmer's market and saying, yeah, hey, this is where we're at. We just opened shop over at 14th and 1st, whatever that is for you and what that looks like, your corner of the internet. Make sure you start doing things to actively getting out of obscurity. And maybe you need to pay somebody for that. Maybe you're like, dude, I have absolutely no idea how to do this. That's what marketing agencies are for. That's what public relations agencies are for. And you can absolutely pay for that if you want to go that direction and if you have the means and wherewithal to do so. Do it. It'll fast track your success if you're able to. So yeah, I was just thinking about this a lot today. I actually woke up last night, just thinking about, obscurity and how I was, again, not actively raised or purposely raised this way, but it was just kind of how I fell into it with my personality and the personality of my parents of, we just kind of keep to ourselves. That's just our nature in general. And my parents have gotten better about this as they've, gotten older and into their retirement years. They've joined like a ukulele club and stuff. So shout out to the Skagit County Ukulele Club and all the great people that they're getting out and, just enjoying being around other people, especially obviously as their kids have grown and their grandkids don't necessarily live next to them to delve and put their energy into that. They're starting to, get out and do things and get themselves out of obscurity a little bit more too. So good job, Mom and Dad. I'm proud of you for doing that. And that's the same thing with Liz and I, and we've gone back and forth with this of how do we, as a couple, keep getting ourselves out of obscurity in our life, in our community, in our events. And Liz is much better at this than I am. Like she goes to, networking events like crazy. So I'm super proud of her for that as well. Because it is something that if you're not a natural people person and wanting to get out there and just, chat it up and cut it up with all the random strangers, it can be difficult. But if you want to be successful in business, if you want to be a leader in your business, you need to be able to get yourself out of that obscurity. And that may be even in your own office. Get out of your office, talk to your people, talk to them, find out what's going on. It's very simple. And we've talked about that a lot in this podcast. So make sure you check out some previous episodes. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining me tonight. I hope you're having a fantastic day, no matter where you're at in the world. Bye.